Members of Parliament are starting to speak up against the ill-mannered former Speaker, ANITA, and they are speaking out on the way how he presided over Parliament. The only member of Parliament to speak out is the Clark North MP, okay, who came out and said these statements.
Brother, I'm telling you, in the 11th Parliament, you couldn't say anything. She was acting like a deputy god. The moment you say anything as a member of Parliament, you'll never survive. One, you'll never speak on the floor of Parliament. You'll never go for any trip. In fact, you'll be seen like a thief, like a wizard. So in the 11th Parliament, people were totally fearful. You cannot say anything. Any staff of Parliament, my friend, you cannot even say anything. As a staff of Parliament, you have to sit. The moment you mention anything about ANITA, you'll be fired on phone. And the following day, someone will be recruited. That is also another area that we want the Parliament to investigate. There are so many staff that were recruited in Parliament. Just on phone. They call you, today you are a principal secretary. Today you are a clerk. Just things were happening in a very nonsense, useless way. Uncoordinated move. So Parliament should be investigated properly. I am happy that has already started. And we shall continue blessing them. We have so many informations as members of Parliament. Thank you.
That is that MP. First of all, if you've been my ardent follower for a long period of time, I used to do different videos on the way how the former Speaker presided over the House. He lacks the big man. I think he lacked wisdom to preside over the House. He was so vicious to critics. It was so vicious to members of Parliament who were trying to fire the agenda of the House. A clear example was Honorable Zake. A slight difference, he mobilized members of Parliament to delete him from a commissioner position. You clearly see on how he handled members of Parliament, calling them by names, telling them shut up, jeering them, etc. Then he added on the issue of corruption. Truth be said, the position of the speakership was so big for ANITA Among. His mind, his brain wasn't fit in that position for various reasons. One of the reasons is she was catapulted to that position before he was mentored. So the position was so big and he decided to use it in doing bad manners, not only on members of Parliament, but even stealing public funds in a silly manner. So this video, I've come to talk about the comment that was made by the Clark North MP, what means for our politics, and most importantly, the study materials you can learn from the politics of our nation. But before I do this, I want to let you know that if you're into this channel, please subscribe. If you're watching this video from a different platform, please head on to YouTube, type in Sula Mawagari. There's a lot of content of this nature. If geopolitics and economics is what you want, this will be definitely the right channel for you to subscribe to. One, we must all agree that the former Speaker of Parliament didn't deserve to take up that position. He used it to settle political scores. He was not magnanimous. Okay, away even from the corruption, he failed to preside over the House. He acted as an extension of the NR regime. Okay, I used to tell people that in very many countries, the Speaker even doesn't come from a political party. He's elected outside political parties. But even away from that, if you look at former other speakers like Rebecca Kadaga, Chwanuka Sekandi, etc., they would pass each and everything NRM brought. But of course, with tactics. ANITA would also come out and whip members of Parliament on the floor, thank NRM members of Parliament like the Chief Whip, or like the recently passed Sovereignty Bill, who was on the floor of Parliament and thanked the NRM. A speaker is not supposed to do that. A government side has a Prime Minister, almost 5 Prime Ministers, has cabinet ministers to defend the government agenda. It's not a duty of the Speaker, even if you come from that political party, to follow the agenda of a political party. He used to do so. Now, not only that, there was rampant corruption that took people to do an exhibition on Parliament, and the corruption stayed. He was so vicious. Anyone who criticized him online, he was jailed. I remember when they jailed a person who talked about how she breached, and other spokesperson like Sabit, it is used to defend this crap. So the lady was in trappings of power, and she thought that being near the president would insulate him from either being disposed. Remember, even General 7, however bad man General 7 is because he's a dictator and authoritarian, but he doesn't want someone who is so vicious and who can be a burden to his administration. ANITA Among was proving to be a burden more than an asset. Okay, you cannot steal in that silly manner. The Clark North MP also continued to say, which I agree by the way, you cannot arrest ANITA Among alone. There is the clerk to parliament, who is an accounting officer. In all this cycle is not seen anywhere. Are they telling us that the money that was being siphoned from parliament was not blessed by Adolf Mwesige? Those questions must be answered. In fact, the Clark North MP continued to say this.
The former speaker, if she was to be left to be the speaker for another 5 years, I'm telling you, Uganda would have gone. I witnessed how people were carrying money in bags in parliament. How money was being carried, just like rubbish. So what was happening in parliament is terrible. And I've seen how other people were suffering here today. You know, the majority of those ones who were arrested, they were only being used by the former speaker, ANITA Among. For example, she could ask the authority to wire money into your account. And after receiving the money, you must carry everything, not even picking 1,000. You withdraw all that money and hand it over to her without picking a cent. And today, they are now being arraigned in court that they are accomplices of the event. To me, the key suspect is the former speaker, ANITA Among, and the clerk to parliament. The clerk to parliament will come in because no money shall be withdrawn without the authorization of the clerk to parliament. He is the principal chief accounting officer in the parliament. So why should we really disturb those people? They are very innocent. They were only being used ignorantly. Some people were complaining. It is true, once your boss directs you to do something, you cannot refuse. Aware that in parliament, they pay our people fairly well. Looking at your family, once you are told that please go and pick that money and bring it, you will never refuse. So let the two people be brought to book. We shall be happy as parliament seeing the former speaker being arraigned in court. The person who is supposed to be in Luzera is the former speaker, and to clerk to parliament, than disturbing these people for no good reason. So I am very happy. Let President Yoweri Museveni, the CDF, continue fighting the corruption. And the moment you continue this way for the next 5 years, I'm telling you, Uganda will be clean. Than spending most of the time, wasting your time running after the opposition, arresting people, taking them to basement. All those are nonsense. Concentrate in the fight against corrupt. Ugandans would love you more than 100%. And comes 2031, Ugandans would vote for you if you do the right thing. But now, the way I'm looking at, they are trying to really jeopardize it. They are mixing it. You are fighting corruption. You are running after the opposition. You are arresting Lukwago. Those are useless things. Just concentrate in the fight against corruption. You'll be loved more by Ugandans. I thank you.
That is the Clark North MP. I think it's called Anthony, if I'm not mistaken. So you clearly see that there are other people that are supposed to be arrested. It is even surprising that they first arrested workers who was receiving money and they are leaving the culprit. Maybe they are looking for more evidence. Remember, ANITA Among was also smart. Even amidst those raids in her house, they never found a penny. Because he has a background of accounting, has ever worked in the bank, maybe he knows one thing or two on how to keep money. So the corruption, all these things that are happening, the biggest issue is, for as long as they want to fight corruption, they must go ahead. But if they want to settle political scores by arresting ANITA Among, now that will be a degeneration, not only to our constitution, but also the fight against corruption. I'll keep on saying this, that the money that was lost in parliament during her tenure is not so much. because the Auditor General report came out to say that we lose 11 trillion per year. I don't think that ANITA Mung stole even a trillion. I agree that it must be taken to court, but to further the fight against corruption, the net must be cast wider for other people who steal real money in government to be arrested. Of course, as my PMN is truly Mr. Makindi Kabir Sulaiman Magal. If you're into this channel, please subscribe, like, and comment so that I'm motivated to do more of such videos. I'll see you on another one. Peace.